Hey, this is Tom Hulkenborg. Many people might also know me as Junkie XL. Right now, I am a Hollywood movie composer and still a music lover, and also a big nerd when it comes to sounds, especially musical ones. In these next several episodes of this video magazine, I'm going to show you how and why I am creating this sample library. Hey guys, you absolutely sound fantastic. So that anybody can create an even better film score, a piece of music, or simply just having fun playing with it. Are you ready? Let's do it. So if you think the recording process is the most difficult part, think again. Post-production on a sample library is so precise and the most time-consuming undertaking you could possibly think of.
What made me a little bit nervous in the beginning was just basically the amount of material that we've recorded. So we recorded over 20 days of samples, round about 8 to 10, 11 hours a day. For me, as the guy who is doing the time plannings and stuff, was a little bit the feeling that I had, wow, it's a huge amount and we have to manage that huge amount.
The most important thing that needed to be done first was mixing these recordings. I spent a couple of days with Meyerson to really find a really good sound for what could work with these recordings. I then took that session with me, tweaked it more in my studio, and then we started building test instruments. So eventually we decided, okay, this is going to be the sound. And then you have to go through this really complex period of time where these millions of samples actually need to be cut in individual files with like the right start point. Where is the sample going to loop? Or is it going to loop at all? How is the release of the sample? Is it identical to the other release? It's such a miniature precision clockwork job.
We're nowadays working on our own environment. We created a sample audio workstation called SAW. We introduced it at our keynote this year. And so inside of this system, we have a unique workflow that is designed to really fit into our needs.
The SAW is really a system which helps you and supports our editor, and it is one software solution. So when we go back 2 years ago, we had Cubase, we had some custom tools which we created, which helped us for exporting and for sorting and looping samples and also the tuning process. And now we created a whole new piece of software. So we put just the recording files from the Teltec stage into the SAW, and we start to select different samples.
Inside of this system, we do then all the edit, we do the looping, we do the sample selection, checking that the round robins are right, all that stuff. And then we export everything, and then we play it inside our new sampler system.
The advantage of putting JXL Brass on the new sampler platform is that the workflow is significantly changed and improved. When you think about the features like this articulation list or the mixer with the mic merge feature, it leads you into a new direction. You don't have to spend so much time on dealing with files anymore.
As soon as we have finished the first instruments from our production, we bring it to our beta testers so they can give us feedback based on the articulations and on single samples. And in this period, we also polish the library to perfection.
This is a super important step in such a production because you record so many material and you work so long on this material, and no matter how you try to fix everything and make everything perfect, there are little things popping up. Like in the end, maybe you have some little side noises here and there are some attacks maybe that are not perfect, or a little tuning issue here and there. Stuff like that happens. It's totally normal. So you have to have these testing periods, and we start with an alpha period, and this is basically checking that all the sample content is right. And when you have done that, you go into the beta period. And in the beta period, the product already looks like you could put it on the market because it is nice shape. The legato transitions, they sound like they should sound. Already the cover artwork of the product is in place. Everything looks looks nice.
So I'd say Tom was our biggest beta tester because he got all the instruments straight away and gave us feedback. And also before we started with the production of the library, we made some prototype patches exclusively for him just to know if the mixes Meyerson did are working. And so we had a direct feedback how the mixes are working in a playable context.
And we're sitting in Alan's beautiful mixing room with a lot of incredible toys and what we brought back from Berlin. And we're now doing the first pass of the mixing. What are we doing, Alan?
Well, we have a bunch of microphones. It was really, really well recorded. And we're sort of playing with them and finding kind of the best balance and what kind of processing we want to do. This pass that we're doing, we're trying to keep it as an organic sound so that it's really an orchestral sound that will work in an orchestral environment. And then there'll be other passes that Tom is going to do that are going to be a little bit more film scory and hyped up and stuff like that. But for the very first pass, we're doing that. And even with that, we're doing quite a bit of interesting processing to just give it a lot more body and width and size and depth.
At this point, we're mixing everything in the box.
Right.
And that is not because it's easier or whatever, but the plugins that we're using are actually so good.
Right.
That there's not necessarily a necessity to go outside
Right.
the box.
So about 2 years ago, I did a lot of comparisons between my in-the-box environment and I have a ton of hardware, like most guys that have been around as long as I have. And I just did, what I did was, I didn't try to match it. I didn't go, oh, I'm using a Pultec here, I'm going to use a Pultec there and all that. I just used my ear to get the best sound using the hardware. And then I used my ear to get the best sound using the software. And I found that when I compared the two of them, I was losing nothing by working in the box. And what working in the box gives me is the ability to do the same thing multiple times, whereas when we work with hardware, we're limited to the amount of hardware boxes we have.
Right. And the reason why we're doing it here, because people know that normally I mix everything myself. The point being is that we're dealing with so many different microphones, and that's how Alan and I usually work. Alan's expertise when it comes to how microphones work and how they work together is like a million light years ahead of what I know about microphones. So in this stage, I always love to bring in the expertise of somebody like Alan to get it really right. And then when he's happy with it and I'm happy with it, then I take it home and I might tweak it a little more. Right. And then I take it to, we're going to basically print what we have right now, as Alan is saying. This is more like the natural mix. And then I'm going to do one that is very much processed for people that love to use brass in trailers or want to create a film score like Mad Max, where everything is like over the top. Right. What we're doing right now is making it sound so good that John Williams wants to use it.
Right.
So that's the goal right now. When you work on a sample library like this, it means that you need to put in a lot of time and a lot of effort in it to make it really what you want it to be. That's not always easy, while at the same time you have these insane working days finishing a film with Peter Jackson, finishing a movie with Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron, Alita, and finishing Terminator with Tim Miller and again Mr. Cameron. So it's definitely daunting between all that work and at the same time working on this brass library and just making sure that you put the most amount of time in it that is needed to make it an absolutely really good product. But luckily, I am an insomniac and I don't sleep all that much, and I can use that time to now make sure that the brass library is really turning out what I want it to be.